unfortunately, none of us are the forum moderators who deserve the applause for keeping our forums clean. The question was for us to reintroduce ourselves real quick. So I'm Associate Editor Gia Manry.
I'm the video game columnist Todd Seelig.
I'm Erin Finnegan. I took over Shelf Life last year.
I'm a columnist and very occasional on-screen personality, Mike Toole.
All right.
I actually just wanted to say something real quick since you talked about the, Japanese people just, more willing to buy hard copies of the media, basically. Apparently, there were a lot of people who bought all 4 copies of the Endless 8 releases of the horror videos in Japan.
Sorry, what?
Endless 8.
I heard something about
Oh, Horror Suzumiya.
Yeah, and in Japan they released it 4 times, basically 2 nearly identical episodes on the DVD.
And it's really not surprising that a lot of the Japanese companies that are aimed at otaku are really doing that more than more, because that's the only way they can really make money from some of these shows.
That's just like the collector mentality. Isn't that like when Marvel used to do things like 4 variant covers of a comic? Like it's the same thing, isn't it?
I mean, that conversation could lead to really interesting places, because the whole model of creating TV anime in Japan is kind of broken. It's all treated as infomercials, and hard media sales are built into the system, which is just like, no, that should be the icing,
Is it true that the studios also pay the networks to air their shows?
Yeah, that's what I meant. It's all infomercials.
That's really different from the American system. It's really crazy.
Hello, the red shirt here front. The question is whether we watch the anime in English or Japanese when we review. I pretty much mostly review the simulcast for the season previous, and for me it's always in Japanese.
I watch it dubbed with the subs on us. And then I switch back and forth with them. And so I just check the script, but then I try to watch like every other episode in Japanese to get a handle on like how do the Japanese voices sound compared to the American voices, or the dub voices, because I try and work that into the column. Like if there's a dub, I also have to say something about reviewing the dub, and if there's a really notable Japanese vocal performance, I like to catch it on that too.
I'll always start by watching in English, and if the dub is good, I'll continue watching in English. If it's completely intolerable, then I'll switch to Japanese. But I always like to give the dub a try.
Have you ever found the Japanese dub to be intolerable as well?
Occasionally. I mean, this is a big favorite, and so some people might take exception, but I've always hated the Japanese version of Bubblegum Crisis. There's some really bad, I mean, the leads are good, but there's some really bad performances in this, stuff that just takes me right out of it, like, just serious, just kind of monotone crap where you don't even have to speak the language well, just be like, wait a minute, someone's phoning it in today.
Fellow with the camera and the hat.
Have you guys seen Sentient Stalking? And what do you guys think of how it takes on the American style cartoon?
Have we seen Sentient Stalking, and what do we think of the take on American style cartoons? Is that about right?
Yeah.
I have seen Sentient Stalking. I felt like they were paying homage to some cartoons that I really like, Ren and Stimpy, for example, but they really did not have any sense of, I felt that there was no real sense of comedy or comedic timing. It was just kind of the same joke over and over and over again. So kudos to Gainax for trying to do something different, and if they make it better for the rest of the season, sweet. But I was not impressed with the first episode at all.
For me, the most interesting thing about the show was seeing how they referenced the American things like Molotov and Dickerson and stuff like that, because I really didn't think it was interesting as a comedy. It's kind of just, well, Gainax being Gainax.
Poop and sex jokes! Woo!
I haven't seen it yet, but I do want to comment briefly on how I think what parody can be done really well or done really poorly. Like, if you ever saw the Cartoon Network show Megas XLR, it was very much like, it was made by people who knew what they were talking about, like knew what they were parodying exactly and loved it. And that's the good kind of parody. The bad kind of parody is something like Bad Hair Day Forever, which was like parodying anime without ever having seen it, kind of. Perfect Hair Forever, sorry. So yeah. So I only watched like half of an episode once, and I'm just like, this is kind of offensive. Like the people parodying it didn't love the source material. They didn't even know anything about it.
Yeah, I watched the first episode of Underpants and Socks, and I like the art style. I felt the humor was, it tried so hard to be out there, but it really just struck me as the same joke over and over again. I think it's good that they're trying to use a different aesthetic. I think they should keep doing that. Ultimately, I just didn't think it was that funny. Also, I was still just weirded out by the fact that they essentially just took Gur out of the cartoon.
Yeah, that was pretty weird. Yeah, Yoneda NYAF has actually talked about it on
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I think he's taking it really well. I mean, if
Yeah.
someone just took one of my characters and was messing around with it without any kind of acknowledgement, it would just be like, wow, these people are dicks.
He was like, I'm glad to see her, doing something other than heroin.
I'd like to hear what the people behind the Powerpuff Girls think about the stalking, really, because it's...
Well, in representing Zach, I think he said something really interesting on the forum, that he really does hope that it does really, really well, even though he really did not like it. He hopes it's massively successful so that other studios also try experimenting with different art styles. And yeah, I think that would be great, but